Welcome to Beyond the Transaction, a podcast focused on payments for the ISV and Fintech world. I'm your host, Todd Linden, and I'm CEO of Woodforest Acceptance Solutions. Each week, I'll sit down with leaders across payments and financial technology to unpack how real businesses scale through better data, smarter infrastructure, and aligned partnerships. If you care about how payments actually impact growth, you're in the right place.
So I think we've talked about this a lot, but software companies are definitely the future distribution channel for payments. And anybody who owns a software company that has not figured out the payments component is leaving a lot on the table. So, this episode, I'm going to be the founder who just doesn't really get it. And you're going to help me understand. So, my software company already takes payments through Stripe. Why would I ever want to switch that up?
Oh boy. I don't know. I think an ISV founder actually asked me that question a couple times. So you're
I
doing a
would,
pretty good
I
job.
would assume.
So embedded payments are the future. Integrated solutions are now widely recognized by the merchant community. Payments are taking on vertical alignment. So what Woodforest Acceptance Solutions offers, which is different than
The other model.
the other model, every other model, and I'll qualify that as we go on today. But if you are an ISV and you have some sort of ownership in your payments, in your payment business,
Which
eh,
means what? That you get a cut of every
no,
sale? Break this
it
down.
means that you're generating revenue from it
Okay.
and you have some sort of control, some sort of contractual connection to that merchant, not just for a rev share and a referral, but for portfolio consideration, right? So I have a I'm a pool service CRM ISV, and I have 50 clients using my software, my scheduler, my connections into pool supply houses, whatever comes embodied in that integrated solution. And I also now not only have participation in payments, if they had any at all to begin with, but I also include the payments as part of my portfolio, meaning that all 50 of those clients that I have are doing all of their daily operating with me. They're scheduling their connections and communication with pool supply and payments, both the recurring payments and the one timers that are being done on a one-off basis for replacing equipment on site and that kind of thing. Having that control and ownership makes a tremendous difference in the actual valuation of that company.
So when I decide to merge or get acquired,
Yes,
that's when that counts for me.
yeah, it counts for you, but it also counts from a revenue perspective, on an operating basis all the time.
Okay.
Yes.
So there's a couple of big benefits here.
And I think there's a component to that that allows them to expand beyond what they have today too. I think there's a competitive component to being able to leverage just the payments and say, hey, listen, I like what I'm doing. I want to do it forever. And we have some clients like that. I mean, we have, ISVs that only do business with flooring companies that sell flooring, like vinyl and carpet and stuff like that. And that's all they want to do. It's a family business. They never really considered payments. But they found when they brought the payments in, well, the first value add was more revenue. The second value add was now I have something to talk to prospective flooring companies about that differentiates me from who they're using today. And so, there's the kind of short, mid, and long term advantages to having that kind of equity, if you will, in the payments business.
So, payments, of course, is always touch software. There's no way to have a software company without having payments involved, right? Unless it's a free software, which doesn't make much sense. But what is fundamentally different now about the ISV opportunity today versus where we were 5 years ago?
I think it's the recognition that uh, payments needs to be integrated. 5 years ago, it started to be a lot more of integrated. There was a lot of non-integrated, partially integrated payment solutions out there. Um, that's evolved. It's become more recognized. I think, though, you're going to hear a lot of people talk about this, and and people in my position, competitors of mine, they're going to address it in a lot of different ways. One of the things that I think is not commonly recognized is how the consumer reacts to um, the marketplace that way now. There's a certain recognition that consumers have to an integrated offering as opposed to a non-integrated offering too.
Talk to me about a non integrated offering. What does that look like to the
Where
consumer?
these payments ride completely separately. They don't really interact with the rest of the software.
So, for
So it's
example,
always a separate stream.
you go to make a purchase, but it redirects you over to PayPal or it redirects you over to somewhere else versus keeping it all within the system.
Well, yeah, that's one example, but just that the payment is not talking and interacting with the rest of the um, attributes of the software,
Okay.
whether that be inventory management, loyalty, scheduling, um, the whole kind of consumer to merchant to ISV relationship that exists. There's a lot there. So when you look at it fully integrated, you know so much more about your customer than you do when you have to kind of tie that together after the fact.
Okay. So it's giving a different level of data. Because remember, I'm the software founder who doesn't really get it.
Right. But that's everything, right? I mean, that's the world to an operator like that. It's important that, I mean, just look at the value adds that come as a result of that. Let's be the ISV for a minute, and the ISV is extending value to its prospective customers. They can lend much more value through their CRM or their software by knowing the consumer as intimately as they do when it's integrated, because they know exactly what the behavior is, what the likes are, what the dislikes are, how things are functioning.
Where the
How
upsells could be.
upsells is a great point. General consumption, dynamic consumption, per on a per customer level, all of that is so important. And I don't, I don't know, and it would be actually interesting to um, kind of chat GPT, but I wonder, how non-integrated in certain verticals. I'm sure that some of the not yet integrated software companies are become completely obsolescent by not being able to provide a more complete picture.
So, what do you think the revenue model that most surprises ISVs when they understand what's possible? Like, understanding all the money that's being left on the table. You have these conversations day in and day out.
Yeah. The story started with We will integrate you for free most of the time, um, give you all the tools. On our platform, it's switched to issuer and on the integration side, a lot of advantages, with approval rates and payment orchestration and routing. But but the story was we're going to provide a more robust, a healthier payment environment. And then, as we discussed in this podcast a little earlier, what the equity meant to an operator by having some ownership of those payments. But then came the next dilemma for a lot of these operators, and they struggle with distribution. They struggle with sales, and it makes sense. Um, I've got some pretty talented technology people that work for me. Not sure any of them would make great salespeople. So I think that sets a pretty good example of what I'm trying to say. But when we thought about that, we actually have taken a fairly extreme approach to trying to help. So we've built a sales enablement process that I don't know exists anywhere else in the industry. It might, but I don't know that it exists. Whereas while you come into our ISV team, our ISV playbook, which by the way, with any meaningful collaboration, it always depends on complexity, but with any meaningful collaboration by the actual ISV, we can get you through the process in an omni-channel environment in 2 to 4 weeks with complete transparency. So even if we have an ISO involved or a bank, a community bank involved, as the referrer of this ISV, there's complete transparency in the process. So 2 to 4 weeks to get them going. With the sales enablement process, what we've done is we've added, and you've been a big help at PS Creative here for us, in your work with the way we connect with that, over the web and on our websites. But as you come into the playbook, you're given the opportunity to also open up our sales enablement process. The sales enablement process is a process whereas we do a little bit of empathy gathering with the ISV. We build a persona of that ISV. And by that, I mean, what separates, I'm going to go to the pool guy again. What separates your pool service software from that of your competitor? And obviously, that triggers back and forth with respect to feature and benefit. And so we dig in real deep and we gather that information into the sales enablement process so that we can build a sales playbook. And when we build that sales playbook, we then go out and look to build campaigns. You're involved in a lot of that to generate leads. But what separates our sales enablement process from, and why we call it sales enablement, before we give it to our actual inside sales team that I'll get to in a minute, when we're building that sales enablement process, we don't just stop with the features and benefits. The next level of questioning is at what point does a pool service company leave their existing pool service software, if they have one, to come to you? And oftentimes, it's that second level of persona building that makes all the difference in the world. And sometimes it goes 3 and 4 levels down. And maybe the response to that is, that's a great question. We usually, our sweet spot is when you get to 5 trucks or more. Well, why is that? Why does the operator need to have 5 trucks? I don't know what that answer could be, but it might be because we have, because there's usually our scheduler's bigger, more robust, more sophisticated in our CRM. Our connections into pool supplies are better. We have more of a quantity kind of economies of scale for those kind of operators. And so now what happens is you've taken on the sales aspirations in a very holistic way, zeroed right in on what kind of leads, because you're not going after, Todd's, you know,
One man show.
one man show. You're going after, the five truck and beyond group. Uh, Largely that can be, there's a geographic, kind of area component to it. And then the leads we're sourcing are better. We're talking exactly to the prospective clients that ISV wants, and we're delivering them the sales. And we do that. A lot of people are like, what's the next question? You're taking all the no. Usually, what happens in that situation is a lot of times there'll be an ISO that comes in and refers us an ISV. We're doing this on behalf of the ISV and the ISO, and we charge like a per conversion per new ad, and it varies if it needs equipment, if there's a token migration or something like that. But we do a real, the economics work out very favorably to everybody involved, and the big differentiator is we're giving you the equity in the payments. We're transparent in the process of integration. You're integrating to the most modern platform that exists out there, as far as I'm concerned, and I've been around this a bit. And we're providing thoughtful distribution on your behalf. So we're providing the sales component, and that I can tell you for sure is something that we're very proud of, because we feel like if we're going to be a platform company, let's provide a platform that goes beyond just facilitating a service for payments.
This also helps the software founder have a stickier experience, right?
Oh, yes,
Which is huge.
yes, yes, yep. And getting back to the integrated and non-integrated, a lot of these software vendors are integrated to multiple. Like you can go to TSYS, you can go to Global, you can go to Fiserv, you can come to us, right? You could have multiple connections. Some you're getting participation in payments, some you're not. But when most or all of it is coming to you, your ability to service that customer, to empathize with that customer, to service even the payments piece, because you have a one-to-one relationship with us as a payment processor. The 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 advantages go well beyond valuation. They go to control and service, and really providing something that is a seamless experience for their ISV clients.
So I think that really paints the case as to helping ISVs understand that payments are a huge, huge lever of growth for them in a multitude of different ways. Of course, valuation, ease, but it's that market differentiation piece that makes their business just one level ahead of pretty much everybody else. And being able to, don't want to overstep and say own your payments, but kind of own your payments and own that experience. And that's what makes us so unique compared to so many others out in the marketplace. But
Yeah. I mean, we hope it's everything. I mean, we want it to be everything. You know, Again, using that last example, whereas they have payments spread everywhere, but you have one dedicated payment processor, us, who is working with you to provide better data so that you can do more for your downstream customers. You have one payment provider who will help you guard against arbitrary rate increases from a processor. I mean, there's a portfolio management and customer service component to this that is so much that is actually worth its weight in gold. It's like even worth just as much in some cases as actually having the equity in the payments. But to think that you can have them both, we think is everything.
The whole deal.
It is the whole deal.
Awesome. That's this episode of Beyond the Transaction. We'll catch you for the next one. Thank you.
To learn more about the topics we discussed today or to explore more about how modern payment infrastructure can support your business, visit toddlinden.com or woodforestpay.com. Thanks for spending time with us on Beyond the Transaction.